各位傳媒朋友早晨，好多謝大家出席今朝11點鐘嘅抗疫記者會。今日出席嘅除咗有行政長官之外啦，我哋有勞工及福利局局長同埋政策創新與統籌辦事處嘅總監。咁稍後咧，佢哋會有一個嘅開場發言，然後就會接受大家嘅提問。咁由於疫情關係啦，請各位記者朋友啦喺記者會入邊都係戴好口罩，保持距離嘅。我哋依家首先有請行政長官。
各位傳媒朋友，各位香港市民早晨。正如我昨天預告咧。今日我係聯同勞工及福利局局長同埋創新辦總監，同大家交代下有關於喺第5波疫情期間，我哋支援就業嘅2大舉措。第一個舉措咧係我早前公布防疫抗疫基金 6.0 之下嘅臨時失業支援呢個計劃咧將係要動用30億元，可以協助到估計30萬短期失業嘅人士，亦都係由昨晚開始，因為公布咗最新嘅失業率咧，唔少嘅勞工團體都希望政府能夠盡快可以接受申請。咁所以今日咧就係適時同大家介紹呢個臨時失業支援嘅細節。第二個咧係我今日正式宣布，特區政府將再次推出保就業嘅計劃，即係ESS Employment Support Scheme 呢個2022年推出嘅保就業計劃，預計咧係會惠及110萬到130萬嘅僱員，將需要動用260億元到310億元。第5波疫情係嚟得好急嘅，對香港嘅經濟影響亦都好大。隨住我哋喺1月初大幅收緊咗啲社交距離措施，包括勒令關閉咗好多處所啦，同埋對於餐飲業亦都係提出咗好多限制。我哋已經係預期失業率係會掉頭上升嘅。事實上，大家記得喺2020年12月到2021年2月呢個3個月嘅季度，係近年香港見到最高嘅失業率。當時係7.2%，但隨住第4波嘅疫情退卻，同埋香港嘅整體嘅經濟嘅復甦咧，呢個7.2%係好快速咁回落到去年底，即係話喺第5波疫情發生之前嘅3.9%。但係琴日公布嘅2021年12月到2022年2月呢個3個月嘅季度咧，失業率咧就係馬上飆升到4.5%所以呢個係令人擔心嘅。事實上，失業嘅人數咧亦都係增加咗22,700人，而家總嘅失業人口咧係157,900人。所以特區政府係認為咧，我哋係需要盡力去壓止呢個失業率嘅繼續上升。我今朝留意到咧，有一位工會嘅領袖，亦都係我哋立法會嘅議員咧，佢形容昨天公布呢個4.5%係一個海嘯嘅起緊浪啊！咁我希望今日我哋公布嘅2大嘅舉措，特別係再新嘅一輪嘅保就業計劃咧，可以讓香港乘風破浪，奮勇前進。先講呢個臨時失業嘅支援計劃。正如頭先所講，呢個計劃係我喺2月8日公布第6輪嘅防疫抗疫基金之下，當時形容為破格思維推出嘅。呢個計劃係為因為第5波疫情而暫時短暫失去咗佢哋嘅工作嘅合資格人士，提供一筆過嘅1萬元嘅援助，嚟到去舒緩佢哋喺揾到新工作之前嘅財政壓力。無論係全職或者係兼職員工，包括自僱人士咧，都可以申請嘅。喺個概念提出咗之後，亦都得到立法會嘅批准撥款咧，我哋都聽取咗好多立法會議員同埋其他團體嘅意見。我哋同意有一個好大嘅放寬或者叫擴大呢個計劃嘅受惠人士啦，就係俾一啲而家係現僱於，即係佢唔係失業嘅，佢仍然係一個僱員，係而家係受僱於一啲俾我哋勒令關閉嘅處所，例如係美容院啦、健身中心啦， 或者係經營受限制嘅餐飲處所，因為冇咗晚間嘅堂食啦，而因而被僱主要求短暫停工嘅僱員，無論係放冇薪假啦，或者係留職就冇薪嘅，都可以提出申請。咁呢個係好多嘅勞工嘅團體咧嘅訴求嚟嘅。嗱，申請嘅時間咧將會由下個星期三，即係3月23日咧就係接受㗎啦，為期係3個禮拜。申請嘅條件非常之簡單，主要有2方面。第一，申請人咧係需要喺舊年第4季內至少有1個月咧喺香港工作嘅。而佢嘅月入咧係介乎2700元去到3萬元。3萬元嘅數字就係等於全港領有工資嘅人咧係75%都包咗喺度㗎啦。第二咧就係申請人提交申請前，佢需至少連續30天內咧係冇工作，亦都冇就業嘅。大部分嘅申請係會以強積金嘅戶口記錄嚟到核實呢位人士嘅資格。我哋亦都係接受一啲冇強積金戶口人士嘅申請，不過由於佢冇強積金戶口呢啲數據咧，呢啲人係需要提交多一啲嘅資料，等到政府委託嘅非政府機構可以處理佢嘅申請。詳細嘅情形咧，創新辦何總監Doris 咧會喺下晝舉行一個傳媒嘅簡介會咧，同大家詳細介紹。臨時失業支援咧，無可否認係可以解決失業人士嘅燃眉之急，但係佢始終咧係一個一次性嘅措施。如果要真正協助失業同埋停工嘅人士，我哋係要靠市場提供更加多嘅就業機會。因此，當社會繼續盡力壓止疫情嘅同時，我哋亦都要開始為重啟經濟作出適當嘅部署。協助而家嘅企業咧係保留佢嘅員工，保留佢嘅實力。當疫情回穩，上述有啲社交距離措施可以逐步放寬之後咧，呢啲處所就可以恢復營業。咁亦都可以增加招聘，等到員工咧可以重投呢個勞動嘅市場，香港社會早日可以回復正常，經濟可以復甦，市民呢亦都睇到有希望。回顧翻過去2年喺新冠疫情嘅衝擊之下，特區政府一方面呢就係防疫抗疫，但一方面呢我哋都係非常之關心市民嘅福祉同埋企業嗰個營運嘅狀況。我哋主要係靠3條嘅支柱嚟到去支援喺新冠疫下嗰個嘅經濟嘅，以及推動疫後恢復經濟。呢3條支柱分別第1條呢就係防疫抗疫基金。先後我哋係做咗6輪嘅防疫抗疫基金，動用咗大約係1200億元去支援一啲直接或者係嚴重受疫情或者社交距離措施影響嘅企業同埋個人。其中2輪，即係第5輪同埋第6輪呢，都係喺今年1月爆發咗第5波疫情之後呢，係好短時間呢就係推出嘅。第2條支柱就係2020年當時推出嘅保就業計劃。喺呢個計劃之下呢，我哋係向僱主提供工資補貼，藉住撐企業保住呢啲就業。當時發放嘅補貼金額呢係超過900億元。第3條支柱當然係年度嘅財政預算案。喺抗疫期間，先後有3份嘅年度財政預算案，2020年、2021年同埋最近嘅2022年嘅財政預算案，咁裏邊都有一系列嘅紓困措施。除咗一般嘅減稅減費，值得一提嘅就係每一年嘅財政預算案呢都有一個特別嘅措施，係例如2020年呢係向每名合資格嘅市民發放1萬蚊嘅現金，到2021年呢就分2輪呢合共發放5000蚊嘅電子消費券計劃，以至到今年加碼係會向市民發放呢1萬蚊嘅電子消費券，咁都有助刺激消費，帶旺個市場。呢3項喺財政預算案先後推出嘅措施呢，一共政府係動用咗1700億元嘅。喺3管齊下嘅措施， 發揮互補作用，我哋就見到佢起咗一啲好重要嘅作用嚇。防疫抗疫基金嘅措施咧係有針對性嘅，往往每一個項目都係按住受影響嘅處所嚟到，或者係嗰個行業或者係嗰啲人士咧嚟到發放。咁啊，希望協助受疫情影響嘅企業同埋僱員咧可以渡過難關。而保就業計劃同埋電子消費券呢啲計劃咧，佢嘅基礎係比較廣泛，涵蓋嘅僱主同埋僱員咧係更加多。咁啊，保就業計劃當然係保住企業嘅實力啦，而消費券或者現金嘅發放咧，就令到市民嘅袋裏邊多咗一啲嘅消費嘅能力，咁從而咧可以推動本地嘅經濟嘅復甦。保就業計劃喺2020年下半年一共提供咗為期6個月嘅工資補貼，俾超過15萬名嘅僱主喺該段期間成功保住咗195萬名僱員嘅工作，亦都係避免咗出現結業潮同埋大規模嘅裁員，有效穩住咗嗰個失業率，阻止佢進一步惡化，並保留咗實質嘅經濟活動，可以講係舊年即係2021年經濟強勁反彈嘅主因之一。大家記得啦，2021年嘅本地生產總值實質增長係6.4%啊，而好似我剛才講咧，嗰個失業率亦都由年初嘅7.2%嘅高峰下降到去年底嘅3.9%。跟住同大家簡單介紹下2022年嘅保就業計劃。我今日介紹嘅保就業計劃咧，仍然係一個框架嚇。我哋會馬上係去接觸一啲嘅商會啦，或者一啲僱主嘅聯會啦，甚至一啲工會咧，再同佢哋講個計劃嘅內容，亦都聽取佢哋嘅意見。咁啊，稍後係需要去立法會財務委員會咧係申請撥款嘅。為咗俾香港嘅經濟可以從第5波嘅疫情迅速咁恢復過嚟，並且喺疫情退卻之後可以迅速咁重拾升軌，我哋建議推行新一輪嘅保就業計劃，亦即係2022年保就業。吸納咗社會就上一次即係2020年保就業計劃嘅意見咧，今次嘅保就業計劃咧係會聚焦targeted 聚焦去支援受第5波疫情直接或者間接影響嘅行業，尤其係中小企。我哋亦都係吸取咗上次嘅經驗同埋社會對於我哋上次做保就業計劃嘅一啲反應，改良咗呢個計劃嘅設計。例如有以下幾點：第一咧，我哋係設定受惠僱員嘅工資上限，即係話一個企業如果有啲高薪嘅僱員咧，呢個並不係今次保就業嘅計劃嘅受惠嘅對象。第二，我哋係剔除咗嗰啲冇受疫情影響嘅行業，例如係大型嘅連鎖超級市場或者一啲物業管理公司。第三係我哋要求政府提供嘅工資補貼必須要用喺個僱員身上嘅，確保呢啲資源咧係聚焦喺最有需要嘅地方。但係同樣地咧，喺執行方面都係盡量簡單啊。甚至如果可以參考翻2020年有啲強積金嘅數據啊，或者係由僱主申請時候提供嘅數據咧，我哋就會咁樣做，就盡量咧係精簡嗰個嘅程序啦。我簡單講講2022年保就業計劃嘅主要嘅內容嚇。第一，今次呢個計劃咧係為合資格嘅僱主提供為期3個月嘅工資補貼，涵蓋嘅時段係2022年嘅5月、6月同埋7月。個補貼咧同2020年嘅做法一樣咧，都係向僱主嚟到發放嘅。第二個特點咧就係只有月入低過3萬元嘅僱員。即係我頭先講喺一個即係臨時失業支援嗰度，同樣都係用呢個3萬元嚟到劃線，亦都係涵蓋咗75%嘅僱員啦。月入低過3萬元嘅僱員咧，係會獲得呢個工資補貼。為咗簡單起見咧，每一名全職嘅僱員每一個月嘅資助額係劃一喺8000蚊。2020年嘅保就業計劃嘅做法咧，就係以一半，即係呢個僱員攞緊嘅薪金嘅50%，然後再以9000蚊為上限。 但當時做完之後呢，我哋發覺所有受惠嘅僱員平均每月嘅補貼額其實係7800蚊。今次我哋劃一呢，將佢定喺8000蚊，就會令到整個計劃更加簡單易明。第三呢，就係同2020年保就業計劃嘅安排有唔同嘅地方，就係僱主係可以提出獲資助僱員嘅人數嚟到更加切合佢實際嘅經營情況。但係呢個受惠嘅僱員人數咧，又唔能夠超過一個指定咗嘅上限。我哋初步建議係參考上一次保就業計劃嘅數據咧嚟到設定呢個上限。即係話，如果有同一個公司喺2020年保就業計劃佢成功申請過嘅，佢當時嘅總體僱員係1000名，咁啊呢個就將會成為2022年保就業計劃嘅上限嚇。儘管佢今日可能冇1000個僱員嚇，但係如果去到5月經濟復甦，佢請多咗，令到佢翻去或者好接近1000個僱員咧，咁仍然係有資格咧嚟到申請嘅。咁我哋亦都係除咗上述僱員專屬嘅上限之外咧，亦都係會考慮應唔應該規定所有僱主獲資助僱員人數唔能夠超出一個劃一嘅上限，因為大家知道啦，香港係有啲大型嘅公司係請1萬幾千個僱員嘅。咁上一次咧，所有佢嘅僱員都係有資格領取或者係可以申請呢個2020年嘅保就業計劃嘅資助。但而家我哋咧就覺得既然聚焦係中小企，咁所以對於大型嘅僱主可能係要設一個上限，等到我哋嘅資源咧係運用得更加平均，就唔會集中咗喺啲大型嘅企業。第四個特色咧就係僱主係需要喺3個月嘅資助期裏邊咧聘用唔少過佢提出申請並獲得批准嘅獲資助嘅僱員數目。但係同時又加入一個新嘅要求，就係呢個僱主從政府攞到嘅8000元嘅工資補貼必須要用喺呢個僱員身上。呢個同2020年嘅保就業計劃係有一個好明顯嘅分別嘅，亦都係受到有啲工會嘅詬病啦，即係話俾咗個僱主，但係僱主可能咧就擺咗喺啲比較高薪嘅員工，就係冇全數咧係擺喺呢啲基層嘅員工嗰度嘅。咁但係今次咧，我哋係會確保政府提供嘅工資補貼咧係悉數係用喺支付每一名資助僱員嘅工資，就唔能夠由僱主咧自行嚟到去調撥嘅。最後係一個好重要嘅分別，就係聽咗社會嘅反應啦嚇。因為儘管個疫情係嚴峻，但都唔係每一個行業同樣係受到影響嚇。有啲行業嘅生意基本上係冇乜受影響嘅。咁所以我哋就會剔除有一啲嘅行業。2020年保就業計劃嘅剔除名單係相對簡單嘅。我哋剔除咗當年剔除咗嘅咧係一啲公營啦，或者係法定機構啦，例如機管局啊、地鐵公司啊，呢啲咧就係不具備申請嘅資格嚇，因為佢都係可以講即係同政府有啲關係啦。亦都係包括公務員梗係唔可以申請啦，受政府資助嘅大學同埋福利機構咧，亦都唔可以申請嘅，因為佢哋嘅工資已經係受到資助制度嘅保障啦。咁今次咧，我哋會進一步再剔除一啲嘅行業，令到佢哋都係冇得申請嚇。咁呢啲行業咧都係冇乜受疫情影響嘅行業。咁相關嘅行業就係包括我頭先講嘅大型連鎖嘅超級市場啦，大型嘅藥房啦，或者係物業管理公司啦、銀行啦、金融機構啦、速遞嘅派送公司啦、電信商啦、廣播業等等嚇。有關於係剔除嘅名單同埋合資格申請嘅行業咧，稍後我哋會發放一個附件等大家清楚咧係可以掌握得到嘅。最後第6點咧就係我哋係鼓勵僱主去繼續聘用65歲以上嘅長者。 會為佢哋相關嘅僱主咧提供適當嘅資助啊，因為上一次亦都係呢個問題，因為佢哋已經唔使供強積金啦。咁點樣可以令到65歲以上嘅僱員咧，佢嘅僱主都係可以申請呢個2022年嘅保就業計劃？係我哋一定會考慮。咁詳情咧稍後會公佈。嗱，視乎最終敲定咗嘅剔除名單啊，我哋粗略估計2022年保就業計劃咧將惠及110萬到130萬名嘅僱員。咁係比2020年嘅保就業計劃，我剛才講嘅數字咧係稍為細嘅嚇。咁因為有好多剔除咗啊，資助額咧就大約咧係由260億元去到310億元嚇。咁主要係因為咧今次係一個3個月嘅補貼期嚇。我哋會細化呢個計劃嘅細節啦，就盡快向立法會財務委員會提出呢個申請額外嘅撥款注入去防疫抗疫基金，目標咧喺4月內咧，我哋就會接受申請嚇。喺2020年推出保就業計劃嘅時候，我曾經形容過呢個係史無前例嘅及時雨嘅措施。今日嘅2022年保就業計劃咧，係一個撐企業、保就業、提振信心嘅舉措。我相信當疫情退卻嘅時候咧，基於好似2021年我哋見到嘅情景，香港嘅經濟咧係會長足咁恢復出嚟翻嚟嘅。好，我介紹到呢度，我好樂意同局長同埋總監回答大家嘅提問。
好，依家係提問時間，想發問嘅記者朋友啦，請先舉手，嗌到你嘅時候啦，請講出你代表嘅傳媒機構名稱，然後用我哋俾你個咪咧去發問嘅。咁一如既往啦，出席嘅記者朋友眾多，咁所以每名記者最多問2條問題，同埋不設追問嘅環節嘅。首先中間嗰位女記者，中間嗰排同中間嗰位女記者。
早晨3位，想問翻咧林太咧，其實真係知道到網上都流傳咗一份咧，即係內地護士同埋本地護士嘅分工表啦。咁有啲內地意見咧，就認為一啲比較厭惡性嘅工作咧，就俾晒一啲內地嘅護士啦，好似係換尿片啊。咁而負責嘅項目嘅數量咧，亦都係比一啲本地嘅護士多嘅。咁相反咧，就本地嘅護士就做一啲比較輕鬆嘅工作啦，例如係打針等等。咁雖然咧醫管局嘅講法咧，就話係為咗熟習下先，咁但係會唔會兩地嘅分工比重咧，就俾人一種失衡嘅感覺咧？好似係太低估咗內地醫護嘅一啲能力咧，變成咧好似係等同護理員咁樣。咁特首其實你對呢一個做法咧係覺得點樣啦？咁會唔會咧而家即係其實呢一個做法會令到一啲千里迢迢離開屋企人嚟香港嘅內地護士嘅團隊咧係比較難受咧？咁會點樣指示兩地嘅醫護啦合作救人啦？咁而最新咧醫管局咧就話已經達成共識，就一齊負責一啲臨床嘅工作。咁其實最新嘅分工到底係點樣咧？係咪已經係無分彼此做相同嘅嘢咧？咁希望都可以盡快交代到詳情咧，就可以釋除咗一啲可能存在嘅界題咯。唔該。係，
想問你係代表邊個機構
？TVB。唔該。
呢個問題咧就個情況係咁嘅。首先呢，全香港社會對於中央支援香港抗疫，從物資到建築方艙嘅設施，以至到派出嘅內地醫療團隊嚟香港咧，我哋必須要係感恩。對於內地嘅醫護人員，學你話齋，千里迢迢嚟到，放低佢手上嘅工作，離開佢自己嘅屋企人，嚟到為我哋服務，我哋應該感激嚇。對於佢哋嚟到呢個工作環境係要重新適應咧，我哋係致以萬分嘅感謝嚇。咁但係喺一個醫療團隊裏邊，因為早前咧醫管局同埋內地先頭嘅部隊已經有咗一個共識咧，係用協作嘅模式嚇，或者有人形容為一個混合嘅模式，而唔係將某一個嘅醫管局嘅醫療設施咧，全部係交俾內地嘅醫療團隊嚟到去做嘅嚇。咁所以喺呢個協作嘅過程裏邊咧，就當然會涉及一啲嘅分工啦嚇。有陣時呢啲分工，佢哋自己兩個嘅團隊大家同意咗咧，我唔覺得係應該由即係外邊人去單單睇住一張紙嚟到去評價應該係點。我亦都覺得咧，所有嘅醫護人員，無論係內地或者本地嘅人員咧， 佢哋都係白衣天使，佢哋都係以救人為宗旨，佢哋亦都係會全心全意咧係服務啲新冠嘅病人嚟嘅。咁所以最重要咧就係喺未來嘅日子，呢啲內地醫療團隊嚟到，佢能夠為我哋提供到更佳嘅治療，減少一個重症或者係死亡。我對於內地團隊呢一種嘅專業精神咧係充滿信心。事實上，好似我迎接佢哋嘅時候講咧，佢哋不但只係喺本身嘅醫療機構，大部分都係內地廣東嘅三甲醫院係服務，而且亦都係好有經驗咧，去過其他嘅地方參與抗疫嘅工作，包括武漢啊。咁所以今次嚟到香港，我諗佢哋嘅團隊咧，亦都係睇到佢哋自己喺邊度發揮咧，能夠最幫助到香港。嗱，呢個係內地團隊嚟香港嘅最大嘅目的。我亦都覺得咧，呢個目的喺大家嘅共同努力之下咧，係可以做得到。
好，第二位記者嘅問題。後排最邊嗰位男記者。
特首早晨，香港01嘅，咁就兩個問題啦。首先第一個就係國家主席習近平咧，就喺2月16號就公開表明咗，就係希望香港政府咧可以盡快將穩控疫情作為當前壓倒一切嘅任務啦。咁1個月都過咗去啦，咁我哋睇翻其實當日香港疫情死亡嘅數字係大約200幾宗啦，但係1個月之後已經去到5000幾宗。咁就想問下特首，你覺得特區政府喺過去嗰1個月有冇真係做到國家主席所講用壓倒一切嘅態度去對抗呢個疫情呢？咁第二個問題就係關於政府專家顧問許樹昌教授之前都講過，就係同國家衛健委嘅專家梁萬年教授就達成咗個共識，就係每一日確診人數回落翻去4位或者3位嘅數字嘅時候，就係做全民檢測嘅最佳時機啦。咁但係我哋而家睇翻就係每一日確診嘅數字都係萬零宗咁樣，咁就想問下特首，你有冇一啲乜嘢嘅策略可以短時間內盡快壓低而家呢個確診嘅數字咧？就盡快將呢個數字回落翻3或者4位數字而推行全民檢測咧？唔該。
我哋完全係按住國家主席習近平對於香港嘅要求。喺過去呢一段時間，其實由第5波開始咧，我哋都係全心全意嚟到去抗疫。我哋係將穩控疫情咧係放喺重中之重，亦都係壓倒一切嘅任務。當然我哋亦都係要將確保香港市民嘅生命安全、身體健康咧係放喺首位。每一件嘅工作，包括我每一天除咗星期2之外咧，喺呢度同大家公佈嘅措施、交代嘅措施咧，都係按住以抗疫、以拯救生命咧為我哋嘅目標嘅嚇。咁所以我認為特區政府嘅團隊喺呢一度咧係履行緊我哋嘅主體責任去做呢件事嚇。第二咧就係有關於喺咩時機做全民強制檢測，係本地嘅專家同埋內地嘅專家咧，都係發表咗一定嘅意見嚇。咁我亦都會詳細認真考慮呢啲意見，喺不久嘅將來咧，就同大家公佈究竟喺2月22日提出過呢個用全民強制檢測作為一種手段去壓制嘅疫情，究竟應該係點樣進行，喺幾時進行？但係今日咧就恐怕未到呢個階段可以同大家交代。我係非常之尊重記者發問嘅自由，不過我相信而家喺電視機前邊嘅唔少嘅僱主同埋僱員，對於今日提出嘅2大就業支援嘅措施咧，都係好關心嘅。咁所以如果有記者朋友可以都聚焦問一問呢啲咁重要，可以令到香港嘅僱員稍為放心，可以令到香港嘅僱主稍為有信心嘅問題。
好，我哋而家第3位記者嘅問題。中間嗰位女記者，中間嗰排係啦。
係 I'm from HKIBC, so I would like to ask about the two schemes that you have announced just now. So do they only cover for permanent residents, or if people who came here with a visa, are they covered as well? And the second question I would like to ask is, what's your expectation under these two schemes? Will the unemployment rate continue to rise, like what you have just said, like the tsunami will continue to go on? Thank you.
This scheme is intended to support employees through providing wage subsidies to their employers. So we will not draw a distinction between the resident status, ethnicity, or background of the individuals. As I've mentioned, the distinction will be drawn on the basis of the industry. So for certain business sectors which are not adversely affected by the COVID-19 epidemic, they will not be eligible. In fact, this is a very strong message given to us when we conducted the 2020 support scheme. As far as the second question, I'll invite the Secretary for Labor and Welfare to explain to you the impact of the 2020 ESS on the overall employment or unemployment situation in Hong Kong.
Well, to look at what would be the possible impact of the current proposal, the best thing is to look back at in the 2020 ESS application. Just to recap, in the 2020 ESS program, it sort of covered the period of June to November 2020. You probably remember the third wave is peak around July and August in 2020. Very likely because of the ESS program, the unemployment was rather stable at that time, at around 6.1 to 6.3%, even though the peak of the third wave hit Hong Kong. After the end of the third wave, the fourth wave came around mid-November 2020. The ESS stopped in November 2020. Then the unemployment rate started to increase in December 2020 and reached its peak by the time February 2021, that is 7.2%. The whole purpose of the ESS back at that time is to try to keep the business afloat so that when the epidemic subsides, the industry can revise very quickly. And if you look at the figures, it clearly illustrates how quickly the economy picks up in 2021. As Chief Executive just mentioned, in the announced figure in February 2021, the unemployment rate was 7.2%. In 10 months' time, it drops to 3.9%. The best comparison is back in 2003, during the period of SARS. In June 2003, the unemployment rate was 8.5%. To reduce by 3.3%, the same magnitude that we have in 2021, it took 2.5 years before the unemployment rate dropped down to 5.9%. What it really tells us is that the rebound in 2021 is very quick. And if you look at the impact of ESS during the third wave, and then how much the business can uphold themselves, and how they can recover very quickly after this fourth wave, it illustrates the importance of a ESS program. But just to highlight the current proposed ESS is slightly different because of the timing. If you remember, in 2020, when we start announcing the ESS, it was right after the second wave, before the third wave. We didn't know when the third wave would come. So the whole idea is to keep the business afloat. But now it's like different. now, if everything's, we can say touch wood, if the peak of the fifth wave has already passed more than a week ago, and now is the time to think about how we can keep the business coming, to help them to coming back very quickly as possible. So the design, as spelled out by the chief executive right now, is to encourage them to increase their employment, because the amount of subsidy will depend on how many employees they will employ. And so that will help the business to rebound far more quickly. That's what I say.
好，我哋不如問一問就住剛才行政長官講嗰兩個嘅計劃，問啲中文記者嘅問題。前排白色衫嗰位女記者。
你好啊，明報㗎，想問翻咧，其實因為
可唔可以大聲少少？唔好意思。
你好，想問翻咧，琴日因為公布失業率嘅時候，都有學者講到咧，今次嗰個升幅超過預期咧，係個人為災難啊！就係講話即係喺政府抗疫嗰度咧，係即係無能同埋無力，咁所以會令到即係而家百業蕭條。其實特首你點樣睇佢呢個講法啦？同埋我想問翻咧，即係當而家咧社會上有啲好多意見都會講到就係話如果政府一路都唔放寬社交距離措施咧，其實再提出啲乜嘢援助咧，其實都似乎係好難幫到大家復甦啊，同埋幫到市面嘅氣氛咧。其實有冇一個清楚啲嘅時間表可以講到，其實究竟點樣即係個社交距離先可以放寬咧，等到商界可以即係有翻啲信心。第三咧都想問到咧，即係
可能我哋問兩條問題，係唔好意思，行政長官。
我都已經回應過一兩次㗎啦。喺咁大嘅疫情發生咧，無論係立法會議員，無論係一啲意見領袖、一啲學者，甚至普通市民，對於特區政府嘅工作有批評、有意見，我完全可以理解。我亦都完全接受批評，所以我哋係不斷咁每一日都喺度改善嚇。但係疫情畢竟係疫情，公共衛生嘅危機咧係要全民嚟到去配合咧，先能夠可以處理得到嘅啊。香港嘅市民基本上係好配合啊，等於梁萬年教授嚟香港考察過之後咧，佢都話我哋有3個即係好嘅條件。第一就係個政府係好努力咁去做，第二係好多專家學者願意為政府提供公共衛生嘅意見。第三係市民好守規矩，佢話佢坐車經過個個都戴口罩嘅嚇。呢個繼續係我哋抗疫嘅基礎，咁我哋會繼續咁樣去努力去做啦。當然啦，呢啲支援措施係唔可以持久嘅嚇。如果企業睇唔到前景，亦都對於香港失去咗信心，咁你再俾多幾多個支援計劃咧，都係冇乜用嚇。咁所以你留意到我剛才講咧，今次嘅2022年嘅保就業計劃咧，係希望俾到僱主有呢個信心。當個經濟有苗頭復甦，當然就係包括當社交距離措施放寬嘅時候咧，佢就有能力咧係復業，甚至有能力咧係多請一啲人。所以我哋而家嘅設計唔係將佢劃死咗喺一個數目嘅，如果佢多請人，只要唔超越某一個上限，我哋繼續俾呢個工資補貼佢。喺6月、7月，佢多請一日，多俾佢嚇。咁所以我哋希望咧，今次呢個2022年嘅保就業計劃咧，係一個信心嘅提振嚇。咁但最終梗係要疫情退卻啦，係咪？咁所以呢個咪要大家努力咯。特區政府會非常之努力，多管齊下。一方面咧係治療重症，減少死亡。但另一方面咧，就係不斷咁推行呢啲嘅措施啦，包括圍封強檢啦，包括係核酸嘅檢測啦，包括多用呢啲快速抗原嘅檢測啦嚇，分層分流咁去隔離一啲感染嘅人士，希望咧可以早啲將個疫情咧控制咗落嚟。咁我哋就有條件咧去逐步放寬呢啲社交距離措施。咁受影響嘅處所咧就可以逐步咧嚟到開返嚟到營業。咁再加上有呢啲計劃咧，我相信 不久將來香港會見到好似喺2021年嗰個經濟反彈嘅情況。
The gentleman on the left.
Good morning, Hong Kong Free Press. We surpassed 1 million cases today, but many Hong Kongers are not reporting their positive COVID infections, citing a lack of awareness of the rules, jammed government hotlines, overloaded hospitals, or fear of quarantine or being separated from children. Meanwhile, the authorities have warned of arrest or fines for resisting isolation. Do you fear that the strict measures and warnings of arrest are disincentivizing people from coming forward? And wouldn't this result in huge numbers of hidden cases? What's your message to those not reporting their infections? And second, you just said reporters have the freedom to ask any questions, and I think Hong Kongers do appreciate the support of mainland medics. But yesterday, a Now TV reporter was attacked by state-backed press and CY for asking a perfectly normal question about medical accountability, one that was asked by Ming Pao, AM 730, iCable, TVB. You've spoken of ensuring press freedom and better liaising with the media. Will you condemn the backlash and just reassure journalists that we can freely ask anything without fear of reprisals?
About the situation of self-declaration or self-reporting, as a result of people discovering that they are positive using the rapid antigen test. So far, I'm actually amazed that people are very abiding. That's why you are still seeing a very large number of positive cases confirmed every day as a result of the RAT test. The number now actually exceeds the number of cases arising from the PCR test. And the second point is people now realize that by declaring the RAT results as promptly as possible, they are contributing to the entire strategy to combat COVID-19, which will be of benefit to the whole society, because we'll then be able to move forward to relax the social distancing rules, and children can go back to school. So that's why I said just now that in the multi-pronged approach to suppress this fifth wave, we will continue to appeal to people to use the RAT and to report promptly, and to fill in the electronic form of the Center for Health Protection, so that the health people could properly assess whether an individual tested positive could go into the CIF, the Community Isolation Facility, or they could be allowed to isolate at home and receive the home support package that we are providing them. So that was a situation. But having said that, it is incumbent upon us as a government and the law enforcement authority to tell people that there is a legal basis, whether it is quarantine under a quarantine order or isolation of an infected case under an isolation order. All these are statutory documents issued under CAP 599. That is a Prevention and Control of Disease Ordinance. So if there are people blatantly refuse to comply, then isn't it incumbent upon the law enforcement body to do something? But if you look at the figures of arrests or prosecutions, it's a very minute number, because we still want to appeal to people's cooperation and civic responsibility in order to work with us to combat this unprecedented wave that we are now facing. The second question I feel is a bit far-fetched to relate this single incident to the freedom of the press in Hong Kong. Freedom of the press in Hong Kong is safeguarded under the Basic Law, and the Hong Kong SAR government and myself as the chief executive, we attach importance to upholding the freedom of the press, as well as the freedom of individuals and so on. But I would really make this very strong personal appeal to the people of Hong Kong and also to our media friends. It is no easy task for these medical, nursing, and allied support professionals to come to Hong Kong because they all have a job in a medical institution in Guangdong. They all have a family that they want to see every night. But now they are putting down all these personal aspirations and rush to Hong Kong to help us save lives. Their working conditions are really not satisfactory. They are not working in a proper hospital. They are working in a makeshift hospital called the AWE, Community Treatment Center. They are doing it in a closed loop. They can only be commuted by designated buses every day between the hotel and the AWE treatment center. Using the mainland's very stringent public health and infection control standards, they have to work 4 hours in heavy gear, non-stop, without even going to the toilet. I was told that 4 hours, a maximum tolerance of a human being in that sort of gear. So why do we want to make all this fuss and make divisive comments between the Hong Kong personnel, medical personnel, and the mainland medical personnel? So please, you can ask questions to understand more about their deployment, their contribution, and maybe their feelings in time to come. But don't make it into another political issue or related to media freedom and so on. But Hong Kong is as free a society as we would like to see. So there are a lot of people who have been making a lot of comments. I have been the target of a lot of comments made by opinion leaders and politicians and former colleagues from time to time. But this is the beauty of Hong Kong. Everybody has a right to express their view. But we have to put all those views in context. And the government has the first duty to explain and to point out the facts and to dispel any rumors or accusations. Thank you.
好，貼住另外一位記者提問。後排中間嗰位男記者。
行政長官你好，鳳凰衛視記者。首先想問下，琴日公布嗰個失業率預計係咪已經去到第5波疫情嘅高峰啦？咁喺第5波疫情呢，係咪反映咗香港喺培訓某啲行業，比如係安老院舍嘅人才上邊有好大嘅提升空間呢？咁疫情下我哋香港人才嘅流失情況係點？會唔會影響競爭力呢？第二想問下今次呢個保就業嘅計劃啦，受惠嘅行業呢，啱啱就話係剔除咗一啲大型嘅連鎖超市啊、物業管理、速遞同埋廣播呢啲叫做喺疫情上邊冇咁受影響嘅行業啦。但呢啲行業過往一段時間都因為員工確診或者係一啲密切嘅接觸者而要隔離，咁嚴重影響間公司嘅運作嘅。咁到底對於喺名單上邊即係剔除佢哋咧，係有啲咩嘅考量同埋準則咧？唔該。
三個問題，第一咧就係昨天公布嘅失業率咧，佢係涵蓋嘅時段係2021年嘅12月到2022年嘅2月，因為我哋嘅公佈係每3個月咁嚟公佈嘅。咁睇嚟係下一次即係話由2022年嘅1月、2月、3月嗰個3月期嘅失業率數字仲會高啲嚇，呢個都好理所當然嚇，因為琴日公佈嗰3個月仲有一個非常之好嘅12月啊！大家記得當時喺聖誕啊、新年啊都係個市面好旺啊，食飯都訂唔到台。咁但係一進入1月，我哋係由1月7號咧就係實施對最嚴格嘅社交距離措施，冇咗夜晚堂食，閂咗10幾類處所。咁所以即係普通即係唔需要睇到數字，你都應該知道咧1月、2月、3月個情況係會更加惡劣嚇。正正係呢個原因咧，呢個時候推出新一輪嘅保就業計劃，就希望能夠可以壓止到個升幅，即係有啲少少鬥力嚇。我哋希望壓止佢唔好升得太過急促嚇，亦都希望俾到僱主同埋啲企業咧有信心，起碼嚟緊5月、6月、7月有政府幫佢手去俾部分嘅工資嚇，咁可以保留啲員工啦。咁希望如果第5波疫情退卻，我哋能夠逐步開放翻啲處所啊，咁咪 個經濟會反彈，咁佢又可以請翻多啲人啊咁樣樣。個情況咧係咁樣樣。就你提到話喺香港今次嘅疫情係咪反映我哋有啲培訓不足，有一啲行業個人手唔夠，又話會唔會有啲人因為香港太嚴格啦，佢去第度生活啦咁，所有都係準確嘅觀察嚟嘅嚇。但係我哋必須要知道呢啲觀察背後反映嘅係乜嘢嘅問題，同埋整個社會有乜嘢嘅措施去解決呢啲問題。香港踏入人口老齡化係不爭嘅事實嚇，我哋嘅勞動力將會慢慢萎縮，亦都係可以預見嘅嚇。咁所以喺其他嘅社會會諗嘅咧就係吸引人才嗱，輸入勞工嚇。但係大家都知道啦，勞福局局長更加深有感受嚇。以往為一間多安老院去輸入照顧員都係非常之困難，每一個申請都係困難重重啊，因為有僱員嘅工會嘅代表啦，佢哋就唔係好想我哋輸入勞工嚇。咁所以呢樣嘢，我覺得喺疫情過後咧，大家都係真係要平心靜氣去揾出一個方案。點樣可以解決香港喺某一啲嘅行業嘅人手極度不足呢個問題？但係另一方面呢，就係吸引一啲專才嗱。香港仍然係一個非常之有吸引力嘅地方。如果大家記得呢，我哋有一個叫優才嘅計劃，即係輸入優才嘅計劃，個門檻係好高嘅嚇。無論係個學歷或者佢個人嘅成就呢，都係要求好高先可以做一個優才嚟到入香港。呢2年嚟呢個優才計劃嘅受歡迎程度係比以前大大提升，亦都係呢個原因呢，我喺2年嘅施政報告呢，係要將呢個優才計劃嘅每年嘅配額由1000個倍增到2000個，再倍增到4000個。呢個就係香港嗰個吸引力嚇。咁當然喺海外我哋都仍然係海內外我哋都吸引到專才啊。但你話有人係純粹因為呢一段時間佢冇辦法可以出外，冇辦法可以同家人團聚出邊嘅人又翻唔到嚟，佢有啲短期嘅睇法，話想去第度發展，咁呢個都係無可厚非嘅。不過我對香港有信心，我覺得走咗嘅人佢會翻嚟，而係當香港走出呢個疫情，重新展示香港嘅魅力同埋香港嘅優勢，喺一國兩制之下有無限嘅可以融入國家發展嘅機遇呢。再加上我哋真係一個國際嘅金融中心，喺創科嗰方面亦都係發展得非常之好呢。我唔係好擔心我哋喺日後呢係可以吸引翻更加多嘅專才人才呢嚟香港居住同埋發展。第三呢，就係呢一次保就業計劃剔除，點解要剔除呢？其實你如果睇翻年幾以前嗰啲報道你就知㗎啦。我哋當時係一個非常之寬鬆嘅2020保就業計劃，只係剔除咗啲由公帑支付啊，或者係法定機構啊，或者係資助機構啊嗰啲嘅企業呢，所有其他企業都可以申請嘅。於是咪就係出咗有好多市民話嗰啲企業都好多生意喎，點解仲要幫佢呢？嚇，咁我唔點名啦，但係2大超市就係當時好多人即係認為唔應該再申請啦。而事實上喺今一波疫情呢，2大超市根本賣到斷晒貨，係咪嚇？咁所以佢如果有員工感染咗，就佢要負責去照顧佢嘅員工。等於有啲行業嘅員工嘅感染係風險比較高，係屬於高暴露嘅員工，啲僱主就做到生意，佢就要照顧。譬如送遞嘅行業，因為而家冇咗咁多鋪頭咧，或者冇晚市堂食咧，其實送遞嘅服務個生意好好嘅，送餐嘅平台生意好好嘅。咁但係佢啲員工喺送遞嘅過程裏邊有一定嘅風險，咁應該由僱主負責啦嚇。咁所以我哋每一個額外剔除嘅行業都有得解釋嚇。不過等你哋睇咗嗰個整個嘅附表之後咧，如果你有問題，下晝可以同總監提出。雖然佢今日下晝嘅簡介會其實係講另一個 嗰個嘅即係臨時嘅失業支援啊。不過我相信 Doris 都好願意同大家解解點解會有咗呢個剔除嗰個名單。
好，仲有少少時間，我諗咁就住行政長官嗰2個計劃啦，我哋問多一個記者嘅問題。後排中間嗰位男記者。
特首你好，咁我其實咧就想都係問翻嗰個問翻內地醫護嘅問題啦。咁其實有關內地醫護嘅投訴係咪因為係因於內地乜嘢批評都唔講得？咁頭先 KFT 網媒嘅記者咁問到，其實你頭先嘅答覆係咪都算係對於記者嘅一個攻擊呢？第二個問題就係、早前全民檢測就話你仲話有嘢要調整，其實仲有啲乜嘢要處理要傾呢？定係其實之前網上流傳嘅嗰一樣嘢？嗰個名單嗰個嘅資料其實都係等緊中央點頭咧，唔該。
係，請問你代表咩機構？
大紀元，
唔該。
我唔係好聽到佢問咩題目。
或者你精簡啲再講翻你嗰2條問題。
特首，我一係再簡單啲咁問啦。咁就其實都係關於內地醫護投訴嘅問題，係咪因為有因於內地乜嘢批評都唔講得？第二，早前你話全民檢測話係仲有嘢要調整嘅，其實仲有啲乜嘢處理要傾呢？定係其實係網上流傳嘅嗰個版本嘅詳情，其實即係等緊中央去點頭去批准呢？唔該。
第二個問題咧，我琴日都答咗㗎啦。我哋早前亦都係出咗個新聞公佈咧，澄清嗰份唔係我哋進行呢個計劃嘅內容，因為個計劃咧係未公佈。個細化方案咧係仍然做緊嚇，亦都唔係等中央拍板啊！呢個係特區政府抗疫嘅工作。不過，如果要做一個全民強制檢測咧，必須有中央嘅支援嚇，嗰個關係咧係咁樣樣。香港喺抗疫裏邊咧，特區政府係負有主體責任。特區政府如果要採取某一個措施，自己嘅能力不夠咧，中央喺過去呢個幾月咧係不斷咁為我哋加力。等我哋可以做好我哋嘅工作，無論係建設呢啲方艙嘅隔離設施啦，或者係提供我哋源源不絕嘅物資啦，無論係醫療物資或者日常嘅食品啊、蔬菜啊咁樣樣啦。咁亦都係包括近日開始咧係派調呢啲內地嘅醫護人員抵港參與呢啲治療。咁內地嘅醫護人員嚟講咧，都係志氣高昂嚇，係非常之願意支援香港喺一個咁嚴峻嘅疫情，因為救急扶危係佢哋嘅天職嗱，而佢哋亦都曾經派駐過喺內地嘅其他地方咧嚟到去拯救每一個人嘅生命嚇。我對於佢哋嘅到嚟咧表示非常之感激，亦都係深信絕大部分嘅香港市民呢，都係以呢一種嘅態度嚟到去對內地嘅醫護人員嘅到來呢，係感到一來呢就好安心，因為我哋而家嘅設施呢係有更加多嘅醫療人手啦；二來亦都係受到呢一種即係血濃於水嘅同胞嘅關係呢係感動啊！多謝。
好，今日嘅記者會到此為止，咁我哋聽朝11點鐘再見，多謝各位。